inside Evan's childhood bedroom.
I think this is the third time I've been in this room since that day.
It's filled with all things Evan loved.
Yeah, I still buy things. I still buy him stuff.
Evan was a collector, from action figures, sci-fi movies, music, and books.
Evan wanted to be a writer. It was his biggest dream. And this is the last book that he was working on that he never got to finish.
Because Evan's story ended far too soon.
I just got off I-40 onto Highway 109 when the phone rang, and I picked it up, and it was the roommate.
It was July of 2022 when Evan's parents got the call that their youngest son, Evan, didn't wake up.
And I just remember leaning up against the wall and just falling to the floor. And I was just like, there's no way. No way. No, not my baby.
His family rushing to Evan's apartment in Nashville to later learn that he overdosed on fentanyl.
I just remember somebody come out the door and they said, you can touch the bag. And it didn't hit me. Like, the bag? What do you mean I can touch the bag? And then they rolled him out in a body bag. And I just remember telling them they just needed to wake him up. Just please wake him up.
Evan's parents say opioids was not something their son ever experimented with before. At the time, he thought he was buying cocaine and planned to play video games with a friend.
When this happens, you're just like, you can't believe it happened to you. You know, that it was my son that lost his life to this.
After months of an investigation, Metro Police would later arrest a man for selling a street drug containing fentanyl.
His autopsy report proved that. There was nothing but marijuana and fentanyl in his system.
Evan's parents now hoping justice can help heal their broken hearts.
Getting justice for Evan is getting justice for every single person that this has happened to. Every mother that has sat in my place.
Things that I thought were so important before really don't mean much of anything today. It's changed my perspective completely.
Bringing with it a new chapter in Evan's story, full of more things, but more importantly, more love for who he was.
And so I just try to focus on the good things and that I still have in life. And I tell myself I have to live for Evan.
In Wilson County, Kendall Ashman, News 2.
In the 1970s, 80s, and even early 90s, most rock and roll music fans in Nashville listened to one station, 103 KDF Rock.
There's something about that music, and it was pretty wonderful to be a part of it.
That's Shannon McCombs, one of the many personalities listeners would connect to over the airwaves. Carl P. Mayfield and the P-Team were another. Carl's controversial characters created an undeniable bond with listeners. Case in point, Bubba Skinner.
We're releasing this one here for Ann Hope, man, over Channel 2.
This was Bubba Skinner's bumper sticker.
Carl, once in character as Skinner, decided to run for mayor as a morning show radio bit.
A rock-solid record of partying his brains out, of knowing a fox when he sees one.
People seriously got into this. Of course, Bubba wasn't really running for mayor, but a lot of people thought he was. And so people wrote in votes for Bubba Skinner.
Sydney Francis Lovelace, former promotions director for KDF, says fans always showed up big.
If we had a promotion, listeners would go all out. She painted herself in the station colors.
Listeners would do anything to support those famous letters.
If you had a KDF sticker on your car, you know, you just might get pulled over by the police, you know, because they think you're up to something or whatever. You know, it was kind of had this, you know, a bit of a rebel vibe to it, you know.
Frances Lovelace says the stickers had a double meaning. You could either win prizes for having one on your car, or it could be the very reason blue lights were behind you. But it didn't matter. Listeners loved the brand.
I mean, the station was always known for helping local talent.
In a competitive radio market, KDF ripped ratings, as seen on this newspaper write-up. So what would happen next shocked everyone.
We always called it the day the music died.
The day was April 1st, 1999. Those 4 letters, WKDF, would mean something completely different after what happened overnight.
And it was April 1st, and the phone started lighting up.
The DJ finally played a song that was slow as honey.
What seemed to be an April Fool's joke turned out to be very real. The iconic rock and roll station would now play country moving forward.
I went in the night before, we went live country and tore down all the rock stuff and moved in some posters like of Shania Twain and George Strait just to make it country.
25 years later, rockers still have questions.
I hear that from everybody, inside, outside. It's like the $1 million question. Why did they take KDF off the air?
Social media groups keep the memories alive, and KDF merch is still being sold online, marking an important chapter in Music City. Those 4 letters still shine bright today. It was June of 1974 when one superstar came to Lebanon.
It was just Paul McCartney fever.
That summer, the former Beatle and his band Wings landed here.
Everybody in town eventually knew it. They were trying to keep it secret, but he was spotted in so many places.
And those stories are still being shared today.
He's really cute. He was so cute. And just, I couldn't believe it. I thought I was going to faint.
Legend has it, Paul and Linda McCartney were looking for a summer escape, and through music industry connections, they found a farm on Franklin Road.
These 2 houses, a house here, house there, 133 acres.
That's Troy Putman. His father, Curly Putman, sealed the deal, and in return, a trip of a lifetime in exchange for their family home.
We went to Hawaii for 6 weeks, and that was sort of a paid vacation.
Paul McCartney and Wings were spotted all over the square in downtown Lebanon in the summer of '74. But this is the farm Paul McCartney and Wings called home in Middle Tennessee for 6 weeks, this year marking 50 years since that summer.
Paul McCartney spottings, you know, like Pokemon or something.
That's Sandra Bryan. She was just 15 years old when she spotted Paul herself.
My friend driving, Linda, she's like driving right beside of him, and I'm hanging out the window. Can you give me your autograph, please? And he says, he's on his motorcycle. He says, it's not a good time.
Come to find out, the motorcycle belonged to Troy. Paul found it on the property and wasn't aware of the rules that came along with it.
Without helmets, I don't think they realized that Tennessee had a helmet law.
And we lived in the house behind here.
For Vicki Eads, that summer a job landed on her front door. Literally, she lived in front of the farm and would eventually end up working for the McCartney clan.
We would saddle horses for them. They wanted to ride horses, go to the grocery store. I babysit the kids a couple times.
Eads said she was sworn to secrecy, but some things just can't be kept in.
Paul went to town one day and went in the local drugstore, and then that was it.
That was all she wrote.
That was it, yeah.
My motorcycle and my dog Thing.
50 years later, Troy still holds on to the memories his parents helped create.
So this was put on a calendar, their Nashville diary, and pictures all by Linda McCartney.
A few months after their stay, Paul McCartney and Wings would release Junior's Farm. Locals believe it was inspired from his stay in Lebanon.
They may have written it up there right in the garage. They used to practice in the garage. You could stand down here and listen.
All these years later, pictures in hand and a song they'll sing forever.
You know, it always coincides with the green, green grass of home.
Reporting in Lebanon, Blake Eason, News 2.
The images paint a picture. Honor roll student and standout softball player turned loving mother.
She was a daddy's girl. She was just my girl.
But these photos don't tell Shelby Jordan's full story, including the tragic end.
When you're looking at a 4-year-old little boy whose mom's gone, and to this day, all he knows is his mom had an accident. That's all he knows right now. When he gets a little older, we'll explain to him that, hey, Mom made some tough choices in life, you know.
Those tough choices in life cost Shelby her life. Her dad, Dennis Jordan, says it started at the end of her junior year of high school when she broke her toe. Shelby got surgery and doctors put screws in her foot.
She was in a little bit of pain, so they gave her some painkillers, and Oxycontin's what they gave her. And of course, being a young dad, I didn't know what it really was. I didn't really understand. I mean, I've heard of it, but didn't really think it was that big of a deal. But as we learned later, it got to be a big deal to her. You know.
Shelby was addicted. The opioids, triggering something in her brain her dad says he doesn't understand, but he always tried to help, buying Shelby food and gas when she needed. In and out of rehab, between the stints of sobriety, things got worse.
That's why I always say the drugs took over. You know, I mean, they changed who she was. They changed everything about her.
Shelby's parents had to take emergency custody of her son, Cash. Later on, they'd learn all the help they gave still couldn't save her.
When you hear your wife get a tone in her voice, you know immediately what it is. You know, so when I come around the corner, our son was home and he's hugging her, like, I knew what it was. You know, so tough day. Tough day for me being a daddy's girl.
On August 14th, 2019, Shelby overdosed on heroin laced with fentanyl, leaving behind her parents, 2 siblings, and her young son, Cash.
I've had some families call me that lost kids and say, when does it get better? Here I am 5 years later, I don't know it's any better.
While it may never get better for Shelby's family, there's still hope for those currently battling addiction. Dennis Jordan is helping them through an event honoring Shelby's memory, with plenty of cars that share her name. The Shelby Mustang. The Showing Off for Shelby car show raised $36,000 in its first 2 years. All of it donated to the nonprofit Steered Straight, local schools, and other groups that helped Shelby during her recovery.
Don't get me wrong, in the grand scheme of life, $36,000, not a lot of money, but it's a lot to me. It's a lot to help this community out here.
And this year, they hope to raise even more money while raising awareness of an epidemic that brought Shelby's story to an end.
We have this car show for the reason is I don't want people to do what I do. You know, have to go through this, if I could help one family, I mean, it's worth it to me.
In Murfreesboro, Tori Gessner, News 2.
It doesn't take long to notice this building stands out above the rest in Lebanon, Tennessee.
But it's not just the buildings that you have to hold on to, it's the stories as well.
And this one has plenty. It once served as Castle Heights Military Academy.
This building burned several times during the Castle Heights days. So this building has been through a lot, but it still stands.
Founded in 1902, the Academy served as a prep school for young men and women. But that's only half the story.
Heard through the grapevine at that time when they were at Castle Heights that there were 2 brothers at Castle Heights who could really play those Beatles songs.
Longtime Lebanon resident Tick Bryan was referring to the Allman Brothers.
The most famous people who went to school here were Greg and Dwayne Allman.
The pair attended the school in the 1960s, and legend has it they didn't necessarily enjoy their time at the school, but they certainly made the most of it through music.
You know, the Allman Brothers, that kind of talent, it starts quick.
Steve Quarles remembers those days vividly. He was a freshman when he first met the brothers in 1962 on the drill team. He says the brothers couldn't be more opposite. Dwayne was described as confident and outgoing. Greg was shy and introverted, but together they created something special.
So obviously we know who the Allman Brothers ended up being, but as everyone else, they had to start somewhere.
From the Misfits at the military school to the Allman Joys, the brothers played all around town, with any group that would play and any room that would listen. The Academy closed in 1986, but to keep its history alive, the building behind me here now serves as Lebanon City Hall.
The past is really important to me. And as we move into the future, we want to hold on to that.
In addition to serving as City Hall, a museum can be found on the building's bottom floor with plenty of notes and memories about its rich music past. Reporting in Lebanon, Blake Eason, News 2.